Welcome to the floor plans tutorials. In this video, we are going to cover some simple floor plan basics that will help you, first of all, calculating area, whether it be calculating the area mathematically on using pencil and paper or calculating area within Google SketchUp. And we will also show how to modify your areas inside SketchUp and how to use SketchUp Layout. How do you calculate area? Area refers to the amount of space in an enclosed section. So it's going to be a two-dimensional value, and it's going to include multiplying two different lengths for a rectangular shape or a square shape. Area equals length times width. It could be height times width as well. All you need to know, it is actually two distances that form the shape of an object. So in this case, in the green box, I have a length of 10 feet and I have a width of 10 feet. So my area is going to be the calculation of those two distances. My area will be 10 feet times 10 feet, and that is going to give me a total area of 100 feet squared. Note that you have to multiply the units too. You can't ignore the units. So your 10 times 10 is like 10 squared, and your feet times feet is like feet squared. So that's how we obtain a total area of 100 feet squared. What if you can't remember the formula? Units always provide a clue. It doesn't really matter which units you're working with. It could be area, it could be volume. There's always a clue if you know the unit. So if you know that your area is feet squared, but you can't remember the formula, there is a clue to be found in just the units. So the units for area are commonly feet squared, inches squared, or meters squared. So you have a foot squared, an inch squared, and a meter squared, and those squared values will tell you that it is a foot times a foot, or an inch times an inch, or a meter times a meter, and those always give you that squared value. So if you know it's a foot times a foot, or an inch times an inch, or a meter times a meter, you know those are all distances or lengths. So you know it has to be one distance or a length times another distance or a length. The square tells you must be foot times foot, inch times inch, or meters times meters. That's a big clue to let you know that you are trying to find two distances multiplied together just by looking at the units. Can unit clues be used for other formulas? Sure they can. An example here is the units for speed or velocity are commonly meters per second or kilometers per hour, possibly miles per hour as well. So kilometers is a distance, hours is a time. So looking at our example here, we have kilometers divided by hours, or kilometers over hours. That tells you that your formula for velocity or speed is distance over time, because we know kilometers is a distance and we know hours is a time. So once again, if you can't remember a formula, look at the units and there are some clues in there. So what about calculating area for odd shapes? So if we have an odd shape like this that isn't perfectly square or rectangular, it's got a little different shape, how are we going to calculate that area? What you're going to do is you're going to split your area into common geometric shapes that you can easily calculate the area for. So we already know how to calculate the area for a square or a rectangle. It's going to be the two dimensions, the length or the width, multiplied by each other. In this case, we don't have two, although it's not a symmetric shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to split that into shapes that we can easily calculate it for. So now we have two rectangulars. We know the formula for area. It's the two distances. So if we have area 1 is 75 square feet and area 2 is 30 square feet, once we calculate those individual areas, we can just add those together and get a total calculation or total area calculation of 105 feet squared. So we have area 1 plus area 2. and we've already calculated those areas, so it's just simple mathematics adding the two together. How do we find the area in SketchUp? Watch the following video, and this will explain how we can use a simple tool in SketchUp, and it works for SketchUp Pro or SketchUp for Schools. When you're working in SketchUp, there's a tool available that allows you to calculate your area. So if I sketch a simple rectangle, and I'm going to make my rectangle, select my start point, and for my dimensions, I'm going to put 10 feet, 10 feet. You can see those values in the bottom right-hand corner of my display. And I'm going to select enter, and I have a nice square there that is 10 feet by 10 feet. So if I want to calculate that area, I'm going to use my selection tool or the space bar, and I'm going to click in that area, and you will see the shaded square pops up, and I'm going to right click and select area. I have a choice of using my selection tag or material. I'm just going to use selection, and that tells me that it's 100 foot squared. If you're not getting square footages, if you're getting different units, say square meters or square inches, then you want to change the units of your SketchUp model. So you're going to go up to Window and Model Info. And in the Model Info, you're going to want to select Architectural. You do have other options here for this exercise. We're going to select Architectural. And if we were selecting a decimal value, you would select inches, feet, yards, millimeters, etc. But architectural has already been determined, so that allows us to get our feet squared. If I had an irregular shape, so I have what you could say is two squares beside each other, you could select this square and use the exact same command, right click, select area, and your selection. So that is 25 feet squared because I made this square 5 feet by 5 feet. If you did not have this line in here and you needed to calculate that, you would select that area again, right click, area, and then area and selection, and that's going to give me the total, 125 square feet. So that was 100 square feet plus my 25 square feet, giving me 125 square feet total. If I wanted to go back and break this section up to see how much this small section was, I could just draw a line using my line tool from there to there, and that divides this area into two again, and I can right click and select my area again, and that's going to give me my 25 foot squared. What if I want this 5 by 5, which is 25 feet squared? What if I want that to be 20 feet squared? To get 20 feet squared, I'm going to need an even number, possibly like 5 feet by 4 feet. So this is actually drawn right now at 5 feet by 5 feet. That equals 25, 5 times 5, but I want 20 square feet, which would be 5 times 4. So what we would have to do is change one of these lengths or the widths by 1 foot. So I would use my move tool, and I would select that line, drag it this way, and then I would type in my dimension box down in the bottom right hand corner, 1 foot or 12 inches, and select enter. Now when I go select that area and right click, I am left with 5 times 4, 20 square feet. So you can modify your square footage just by doing some simple math and trying to achieve the square footage that you are limited to. How do I use SketchUp Layout? Follow along with the video following and learn how we can use SketchUp Layout, how we can import a template, save that template for future use, and add dimensions to that, change the zoom or the scale of our floor plan that we are showing inside of the layout. In order to import a new template into SketchUp Layout, we must have SketchUp Layout open first. So you'll see on my screen I do have SketchUp Layout open. You can tell by the different menu as well as it says Layout in the top corner. First thing I'm going to do after I've downloaded the template that I want to import, I'm going to go to File, Open, and it will select template files there. So I have a template in this folder. you can see that it's called tdj-template.layout. I select that file and select open. Once that file is open, you're going to be able to save that. So you're going to go up to File again, and you're going to select Save as Template. So when you select Save as Template, you're going to give it that name that you want. You can call it the same name, tdj-template. And once that is saved in there, every time you go to create a new layout, you will have the option to select this template. So we have now imported that template in there, and we saved it so it will be available in SketchUp for all future layouts that we choose to do. When you create your next layout, if you select New, or if you entered layout from Google SketchUp, if you select that, you will see My Templates up there. So if you click on My Templates, you will now see that new template in there that you saved, and that will always be in there. You will notice on the template that there are some text fields that we can modify. So if we want to change our date or our name or that information, we can just go up to File and select Document Setup. And here are those attributes. So we can select the file name, we can select the issue date. So if we click on that, we could change that date in that text field, as well as the project name, a teacher, etc. So we can modify those fields by going into the document setup. So once we have our 2D floor plan that we've modeled in Google SketchUp, we want to get that into our template. This is an easy step. We're just going to go up to File, and we're going to select Send to Layout. Once I click Send to Layout, you'll be prompted to save your model. Select Yes, and that will automatically open up SketchUp Layout. And we are back to the screen again where we can select our templates. We're going to go to My Templates, select the default template that we've downloaded, and that will pop up with our model. If it looks too large, too small, we want to change that, we can just double click on this, and that will bring up a box surrounding the model here that we've brought into our layout, and then we can actually do some zooming in there or zooming out, and it is in the layout that we can actually select, and this is where we're going to add our dimensions and text. So just going up to our simple dimension commands and selecting our points for dimensioning, and that will add our values in there. And we can also use the text command to add text, and I'll select that area there, and I'm just going to put back deck on there. So we can add labels to our room using the text tool, and we can move these around as well too, so to any location that we like. Okay, just select that text, and then we can drag that to where we want, and it should move that. Make sure we have the plus sign there, and we can move that to wherever we want. So we can add labels to our room and all our dimensions on our SketchUp layout.